This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Look at that. This is amazing. The moon from the Southern Africa, the Djuma Game Reserve. A very, very good morning. My name is Sydney and welcome to the beginning of our game drive. I am not traveling alone this morning. I am with David and we are going to try by all means to give you the best experience ever. My plan this morning is quite very easy. I'm just going to hang around central part of the game reserve just to try and see if I'm going to find Tingana or Hosana. For your questions and comments, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. The weather this morning is perfect. It's nice and cool, not that very windy, which is best for my trekking activities. So let me now kickstart driving and see if I can pick up some of the evidence. A very good morning again and thanks for the welcome, warm welcome. So I'm going to be using my spotlight this morning as the time has changed. 5:30 in Southern Africa, it is still dark. So now let's go to my other colleagues who are based at Umara and see what they've got for you this morning.
Good morning and welcome to a chilly Masai Mara. My name is Brent Smith. I have James on camera and the first animal we've seen this morning is a tiny little baby giraffe. So little! Very, very cute. Look how small he is. So probably not more than a week old. You can see I'm comfortable with the oxpecker. There we go. Still a little bit wobbly. You can still see there's an umbilical cord attached. And it's thirsty. But Mom is not interested at the moment. She's got missions to make, places to go. Oh, look at that. It is completely a tiny little mini-me. Now, of course, for those of you who are wondering, we are in the Masai Mara in Kenya. So these are Masai giraffe. Here we go. No. Mom is not too interested in feeding this early in the morning. Look how long this little tongue is. I just love the patterns on the Masai giraffe. Beautiful little thing. And I hear a lot of you are oohing and eyeing. It is just too cute. Now remember, this is 100% live, coming to you from both the Greater Kruger National Park and the Masai Mara in Kenya, more particularly the Mara Triangle. Now we are going to head on south because last night, on my way back from down south, I saw something that shocked me, absolutely shocked me, and let's explain. So last year, this area here was Sausage Tree Pride territory and to a lesser degree, Awino territory. Now with all the rain we had, the lack of food, the sausages moved way down south. The Winos moved into this area and the Olololo Pride started coming into here. But they've never really been further than this lugger behind me here. But last night, just before that massive storm hit, we encountered the Olololo Pride at a spot called Laga and Ndlovu, which basically means the little river of elephants, which is right down close to the burn on where the Winos have been spending a lot of time, and even the Sausage Tree Pride. all 16 individuals of the Olololo Pride moving right down 10-15 kilometers away from their traditional territory to where the wildebeest are. So I want to go see if I can find the Trail of Death, as it's sometimes called, when a big pride of lions like that and a hungry pride of lions hits the migration. So that's our plan this morning. Now remember, hashtag SafariLive if you have any questions for us. It's a bit nippy still. So we're going to hopefully get down there probably in the next 10 minutes or so. And that's where the sort of end of the migration were. And see if the Olololos have, well, been the proverbial fox amongst the hens. Morning, who cares? I care, who cares? Who cares would like to know how many different types of giraffe are there in the Mara? There is one type of giraffe, the southern giraffe. Now, there's quite a lot of debate about giraffe species amongst the scientific community at the moment. Some people say there is only one, other people say there are two, other people count all the subspecies as different giraffe. You can definitely see there are different markings on the different giraffe species. The spots are slightly different, but whether they are completely different species, I'm no geneticist, so I'm going to have to wait until more scientific information has been released and we can figure it out. I probably think, especially in certain giraffe like the Thornycroft's, which is endemic to the Luangwa Valley in Zambia, and the Kordofan giraffe in Sudan, I think there definitely might be some genetic differences there, but only very slight. Hello, you. Are you in must? Or are you just standing funny and playing with a stick? Mr. Public says you only get two types of giraffe, tall and taller. Now, this is an Eddie bull I know quite well. When he is in must, he can be a little bit naughty, but when he's not, he is a very passive and relaxed individual. At the moment, he's chewing on the branch of a balanites. Hey, big boy. So you might be able to hear in the distance all the frogs. We've had big rainstorms every night for the last 3 or 4 days. You can see it's still quite dark here. And we're going to leave this lovely Ellie to keep chewing because I got some meters to munch up to get down to where I think the lions might be. So while I'm searching for the biggest of Africa's cats, Sydney is looking for one of the most elusive.
I am still looking on the ground just to try and find the tracks, because I know the big cats such as the leopard is very much easy to find them through trekking. Looking from the bushes makes it difficult as they can be very much camouflaged. But so far I have not yet picked up any of the fresh tracks. So I'm using both trekking and also checking, make use of my spotlight. As when these animals are high up by the trees, it's never easy to see them. So it is a combination of trekking and the eyesight, which makes it more interesting when looking for these animals. And this area where I am going to look for these cats is an area where I have heard the lions roaring last night. The sound was coming much more towards the eastern side of the game reserve. I might get some surprises. James Richard, yes, that will be very much interesting to see any of the nocturnal animals just before they go back to sleep. So I'm hoping to see some pale spotted owls. I miss them. Rich history, yes. I really enjoyed my off days. It was fantastic, although I felt like it was too short. 14 days is a lot, but the time is flying. Oh, just picked up something. Can you see those hyenas there? All right, yeah, I just picked up some hyenas. Look, they are just running from the western side towards the eastern side of the game reserve. Not too sure what they're up to. Just two of them. Oh, let me try to follow them. Maybe, oh, there's another one joining. Let me try to follow them. Maybe there's something interesting happening here. Let me rely on this hyenas. They are taking a shortcut. Have you seen it? So they took a shortcut to this side. And obviously they are back on the road. And they're running too fast. Maybe they are following one of the predators, maybe the wild dogs, but I haven't heard any sound yet. They just got disappeared here, and they were going at very fast speed. The wind is coming from the direction where these animals are heading to. Not too sure if they are excited by something from the wind. These hyenas can be able to pick up a scent from a very long distance. Oh, there you go. I hear them making some noise just ahead of me. They are moving too fast. Now I can see some of the tracks on the road. Just heard some noise, some laughing noise in this area just now. So I'm just gonna go straight to Twins Dam and see if they are not there, as they are heading towards that direction at the moment. Yeah, there they are. I just reallocate them. They are at Twins Dam. Oh, right ahead of me, there's one right on the road there. Not too sure what this hyena is eating there now. It's trying to move towards the water hole. They must be probably very thirsty as they were going at fast speed. Just trying to check what this hyena is trying to do there. But it seems like it's chewing over. Another one coming to join. That's quite a lovely night. It's quite a lot of them. I can see 5 now. It's a very nice clan. So the hyenas, their body build is very much interesting. They've got a very sloping back. They confuse a lot of people with the arch wolf. So I'm just going to pull forward now and see if we can improve the sighting. Karen, I also saw that last night at about 10 past 10 approximately. Yes, those wild dogs, they were there at the waterhole at that time, but now I haven't picked up any of the evidences. Maybe these hyenas are following the wild dogs, as it was also suggested by one of my viewers earlier on. Now they are on a greeting ceremony. So they are now on a greeting ceremony. This is very much interesting. Look at that, done with greetings. So this helps to maintain the relationship amongst these animals in these clans. So I'm not going to give up. I am going to follow them everywhere. Look at that. So he's now deciding to come back to the road. So considering a fact that the hyenas can smell from a long distance, I am now going to rely on these hyenas just to see if they're going to lead me to something, as I have noticed that where there is a kill, everywhere the hyenas are hanging around. So I'm just gonna reverse and see if we can have a better sighting again, as I can see that they have not yet decided the direction of movement. They're just hanging around the dam. So until they decide, I'm going to go back now and see if I can improve the sighting. Can you see them, Dave? Gary, it is nice and cool at the moment, and I can agree with you that the chances of these hyenas to do some hunting activities, they are very, very much high. So they're drinking now. So they were just hanging around here before they drink, and they were not observing. So they're trying to listen to what is happening. So this kind of animals, mostly they do get some of the moisture from the food they eat. That is a lovely sighting. You can see the reflection of that hyena by the water. Very early in the morning like this, the reflection is there. So amongst these kind of clans, the females have got high ranks. Females decide what to do and when to do what. In terms of the body size, females are well equipped. They've got very strong male genes dominance to be able to defend the clan. More hyenas are coming, just behind us. I can see they're coming to join these ones. So this is quite a very big clan. I can see the other two hyenas coming to join just behind you. So these hyenas are coming from the direction where the lion roars were coming from last night. So I'm just trying to pick up any of the warning calls. You can hear some of the francolins. They are making some noise at the moment. Not too sure if that noise is about the presence of hyenas at the moment or is about another animal these hyenas are trying to follow at the moment. So I'm just going to reverse and try to fine-tune so that you can have a better sighting. So it's very much difficult to tell if all these hyenas I'm seeing here belongs to the one clan or different clans, as the first hyenas we saw were coming from the side of the Nina Mu, I didn't copy that question nicely, but I just heard that you want to know the reason why the male hyenas have the less important role. The reason why the female hyenas got quite a lot of male gene dominance on them is that they are responsible to defend the clan, and they are the ones which are responsible to feed their little ones. And sometimes males on these animals, they tend to feed on their own cubs. And to avoid that, the females, they must have to fight and win those kind of battles for the sake of the babies. So now we've got a very good sighting again. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's about 8 spotted hyenas at the moment. Can you hear they're cracking something there? So nothing is fresh. They're trying to feed on very old bones. So from here I can be able to pick up the noise of the bones breaking. So these kind of animals are very much clever when it comes to the arrangement of the ranks. Normally, they give their little ones high ranks so that the little ones can be able to demand the food. Safari Sali, hyena is one of the animals which is associated with quite a lot of traditional beliefs. And this is one of the species I was going to recommend for rebranding, as quite a lot of African tribes, they associate the hyenas with the evil activities. But one of the very much lovely story about these hyenas is about their tails. I come from Venda, which is the northeastern part of the Limpopo province in South Africa, where we believe that if we take the tail of the hyena and shake it when people are sleeping, those people are not going to wake up early in the morning. They will wake up after a very long time, and people can shake the tails and even come to your house and take you off the bed and take the bed and everything. When you wake up late in the morning, you're not going to find everything. So the hyena tail can be able to make people fall asleep for a very long time. So you can see now they are trying to greet each other in the morning. So the different animals have got different ways of greeting each other in the mornings. But hyenas, I think they've got one of the best ones. They're not shy at all. So now let's go to Brent, who is by the Masai Mara at the moment, and see how he is doing in the other side of Africa.
Well, we've hit the edge of the burn. So the last place I saw the lions was just over there, and this area was full of wildebeest. I'm not seeing any at the moment. So we're going to try now head sort of southeast through this burnt area to see what's there. The wildies are not too far away. We should be into them shortly. But even at this time of the morning during migration, if the lions have been on one of those really sort of big killing rampages, you'll see vultures flying in. But unfortunately not today so far. Puma is asking, is the Olololo Pride the biggest pride in the Mara Triangle? Oof, it's one of the biggest prides. The Mara River Pride, which operates on both sides of the river, is probably a bit bigger in terms of adult females. I haven't seen them for a while though. And then we've got two big prides down south on the Tanzanian border, the Ngarare Pride and the Odonia Paik Pride. And they're probably all around the same size, like 15 to 20 individuals. But in the northern sections of the triangle, it'll be between the Olololos and the Mara River Pride. Now there are a few little smaller prides like the Owinos, Mogoros, which are probably offshoots of some of these bigger prides in the past. And the sausages haven't been lucky in raising cubs in the last while, so they still stay. All the 5 females, the 2 young males in Kipuli have been spending a lot more time with the Salt Lick females, mating with them, and that's around that area over there. And the last place we saw Kinky Tail and the sausages was down south here, so who knows, we might get lucky with them as well this morning. You see, there's been a lot of rain in the last couple of days. If Tristan were here, I'm sure he would have been stuck at least 3 times. But let's send you back to Sydney and the hyenas.
The hyenas are still here displaying quite a lot of different activities. You can see they're just walking around. They are not shy and they are not against me on this sighting. But I know hyenas, compared to animals such as wild dogs, they are very much aggressive and they can be able to confront the lions. Oh, look, the other one is having something right on us. I'm not too sure what he's having there. assistant. It's very much difficult to see what that one is having on his mouth. He just got disappeared. Mark, the hyenas, they do have a very good eyesight, but they mostly rely on their sense of smell. These hyenas are eating. Some of the small pieces of meat these hyenas are eating. Not too sure where they got this from, because now I can see that one of them is trying to chew something. Yeah, there's a suggestion from Tristan that maybe the wild dogs. So, but I will try to investigate after this, because I can see one of them still has got a big piece. Maybe that big piece is going to tell me what animal was that. They're just all standing in pairs. Okay, those two trying to sniff each other. Now they're greeting each other. That was a very nice, cool sound. Some other people, they do get confused between the hyenas and wild dogs. That if you look, the hyenas, they've got spots, whereas the wild dogs have got the bigger spots, which are more like stripes. So the hyenas are very much patient. Greenland, the hyenas are one of those animals which does not have a good smell. These animals, because of feeding on carrions, because of feeding on the old rotten meat, they end up picking up the smell from those kind of carrions, and when coming across them, you will pick a very distinctive bad smell. But here, where I am at the moment, I have not yet picked up anything, meaning that these hyenas I'm seeing here, they were feeding on some of the fresh meat. So I'm just going to try now and drive before that other one disappeared with a piece of meat, just to go and verify what is it that this hyenas has been eating before I got here. So I can see one of them is trying to isolate himself in order to eat. So they're following me. This is lovely. Look at them following me as if I am going to give them something. Here I am. I just want to position myself nicely so that you can see that meat. I can see the piece of meat on the ground. Can you see it better here? I just got a confirmation that these hyenas, they were definitely feeding on something. When I'm checking the color of the skin on this skin which is laying on the ground, it seems like it was an impala. There is not much left. It's just a skin. Maybe they're gonna come back to pick up that skin again. So while I'm just waiting for any kind of a development in terms of the activities here where I am, let's go to Tristan, my colleague, who is just about to kickstart a guided walk.
Indeed I am, Sydney. We are out now that it is light enough to actually see what's going on. It would have been a little dangerous to have been out when Sydney started this morning and would have not seen a single thing as we walked around. As Sydney mentioned, my name's Tristan. On camera I've got Fergus this morning, and it is a beautiful morning for a walk. It's not very warm. It's quite cold, actually, much colder than I thought it would be, but it is really not too windy. It is kind of nice light that we should get. We've got this full moon that is just drifting through some of the clouds. Now I'm giving Fergus a tough task here because it's not exactly close, and on a bushwalk it's quite difficult to hold that steady, but there's a beautiful full moon that's just kind of drifting behind. There's a big cold front that's heading in, so Fergus was telling me that we've got a massive cold front that's going to hit us that's come from Cape Town, and apparently that cold front brought hail and snow to Cape Town, which means that the air temperature here is going to plummet quite quickly, and it should be quite a miserable day, I think, by the end of today, especially if these clouds start coming. They look like they're coming from the southwest, which is generally where the frontal systems come, and they kind of just shift south and then blow over us and become quite nasty. So it should be quite a cool day today. But anyway, it's good weather now for a walk, and we're going to try and see if we can find some lines that were calling throughout the night. Sydney heard them, I heard them, Herbie heard them, and so we're going to just try and see what's happening. It sounded like north of the camp. I'm not sure if it was inside of the Djuma area. It sounded like maybe, just maybe, it's around the boundary section, but I'm hoping that it was the Nkuhuma Pride. And with this front that's blowing in, the wind is going to come from a southwesterly direction, and so whether or not people believe the theory, I want to just double check if they maybe didn't come from Buffelshoek. We know the last tracks for the Nkuhuma Pride were the ones that went through Torchwood into Buffelshoek, and so theoretically they should be coming back this way if all goes according to plan. So that's what we're going to be doing, and there we're going to be heading. So Pride Cat Mama, it depends on the pride, really. You know, some prides, when they're very, very dominant and have very little competition and quite a stable male structure with lots of males around, you'll find that those prides, the cubs will even roar. They roar from tiny. They make these little squeaky sounds. It's quite funny, actually. And they'll kind of roar throughout their life, basically. When you've got a place like this where prides are a little bit more fragmented, you've got male coalitions that don't spend a lot of time with the prides, then you'll find that the sub-adults and even the females to a large degree stay very quiet for long periods of time. The Nkuhuma Pride now is only just starting to roar again since their sub-adults have kind of reached that 2-year-old mark where they're starting to almost look like adults and are starting to compete in, well, participate, probably is a better word than compete, in hunting and various other activities that the pride does. So, you know, generally speaking, it's when they are sexually mature. And a young male lion roaring is a lot older than when a female can start to roar. So a male roaring, if he's young and by himself, is only asking for trouble in a place like this where there's a lot of other coalitions, whereas a female, you know, if she's coming into an estrus, the males are going to not do much to her, and she's able to do so. But it'll be interesting to see, actually, if the Nkuhumas are able to keep these cubs safe now, well, not cubs, but sub-adults safe as they go forward with the evokers. It's going to be an interesting time. Right, now, talking about loud roars, let's send you back across to the Masai Mara to, well, the loudest of our team members, who's got a big mouth this morning, I believe, with regards to getting stuck, which we'll address later.
Well, at least Tristan's walking, so he can't get stuck when he's on foot. Now, we've just been driving around the edge of the migration, hoping to find some predators. The majority of the migration in this area is now to the east of us. And you can see down in that valley as James zooms in. All of a sudden, as you get closer, and if we go a little bit to the right, slowly across to the right, you just see all those thousands upon thousands of wildies. You can probably just hear them in the distance. Incredible. It is absolutely mind-blowing, and I mean, I've seen the migration a few times, and every time I'm just blown away by the sheer number of animals. Just as far as the eye can see down towards the Salt Lake from Mlimambili. And believe it or not, there's just as many up ahead of us as well in the next valley. So we're going to just basically sneak our way around the edge, looking for lions or cheetah. Still keeping an eye out for vultures now. Now the problem is often when you see the vultures dropping, you're too late. Oh, big hole. And the predators have already moved on. Morning, Bob. Bob's wondering how often we get to see cheetah in the Mara. Bob, it's quite dependent. When we have females with cubs in a specific area, we see them often. But at the moment, they've all been sort of spread and split. But I would say we don't always go to the cheetah, but we know probably 3 or 4 times a week where cheetah are. Oh, but it sounds like the hyenas of Juma are having the best time this morning.
So the hyenas are now trying to play in the dam. And the weather is cold a little bit, but they're not worried about that kind of a weather. All they're doing now is having a bath. Look at that. These hyenas are having fun. So the one in the middle, it looks still young. Look at that, they're going deep. I never saw this before. This is interesting. They're trying to bite water. And this kind of behavior they're doing, I'm sure it does help them when it comes to cleaning them, as these animals sometimes pick up quite a lot of blood on their legs. So this must be one of the ways these animals are trying to get rid of the bad smell. As after this water, I'm sure the blood from the old carcasses and everything from the previous carrions get washed away. Look at that. He's just pulling the other one from the ear. Sky, that is true. Indeed, this is a hyena pool party. You can see another one is joining. I wish all these hyenas could come together and swim. This is interesting. This is something I used to see done by the big animals. Rosinda, I don't think there is a bone there, as these hyenas are not sniffing the water there to try and get something. But if there's something, they're going to be able to pick it up. Look, that one is coming out with something. Not sure if it's the elephant dung. So he grabbed that from the water. Another one is coming to join just from the right-hand side. If you can see, it's also coming to have a little bit of water bath. See where those two are running to. The one right in front was not there when they started. So it seems like all of them are going to do the same thing. Maybe what they're doing is beneficial to these hyenas. Polecat Mama, here where we are at the moment, I'm not seeing any sign that there is food hidden in there. But the problem is, if the food is kept in the water, other predators such as crocodiles are going to have it. So hiding food in water holes is very risky to these animals. So what is happening here now, I've never seen it happening. It's the first time for me to see hyenas swimming like they're doing now. So that looks very small. These small hyenas, they are very lucky because by these clans, when they are born with their eyes open and they've got tooth already. So immediately after birth, they do fight for the dominance. And hyenas, they do lose the cubs a lot because of siblings fightings. At a scale of about approximately 1 to 4, one sibling is dying after these kind of internal fights when fighting for the dominance. I am loving this sighting too. This is tremendous. I just heard the francolin giving a warning sign, and that warning sign is inciting the hyenas. As I can see, they are also trying to investigate what is happening in that direction. Look at that. This is amazing. This is lovely. So that other one is right deep in. The other ones are also coming to join. I've never seen the hyenas doing this. This is very, very much interesting. Yes, animals such as the elephants and the rhinos, I have seen them doing the mud wallowing and the water bath, but the hyenas is the first time. Unbelievable. Look at that. I'm sure this kind of behavior helps them to adapt in order to cross the rivers when they are following the food by the other side of the rivers during the rainy season. The one complaining is one of those which did not go to the water hole. Maybe these other ones are trying to convince him to go to the water hole for a bath, but he's not interested. You can see it's not wet. This one is not wet. He's even shaking the neck because he's trying to get rid of the water brought by those ones. Look at that one. Maybe it's going to go in at high speed. Nearly fell there. Yeah, this is indeed a great sighting. This is something very much special. It's very rare. I have been guiding since 2007, and a sighting like this is the first time. Look at that. These animals are enjoying this. Now it's not about the water anymore. They're just running around, playing and greeting. You can see Dave is even battling to film them because they're just running everywhere. So by looking at these activities, you can tell that there is quite a very strong relationship between these family members. Tristan on a guided walk, he's got a bushbuck at the moment, something I haven't seen since I got back. Let's see how the bushbucks are doing.
Well, Sydney, the reason you don't see many bushbuck is, as you can see here, they are hiding in amongst the lodge rooms, basically. So we've got a bushbuck that's making itself very much at home at the lodge. It's decided that this is where it's going to spend its day feeding, and well, why not? I would also be inside there if I was a bushbuck. It's much safer inside that camp than it is being out where I'm standing right now. So clever bushbuck that has found itself a little home on the deck of that lodge. Isn't that cool? It's amazing how the animals, if you just give them a little bit of space, become very relaxed around humanity and around our places. And it's quite common to see bushbuck, nyala, all the time actually walking around in the camp, and we have many of the different species kind of going in and out and walking around. And this particular one is Ferg was saying to me he saw earlier today actually walking past his room, and so this is one that hangs around. I don't think it's the old one. We have one bushbuck that is so old it's grey, and it really is a beautiful specimen, but she's gotten very, very... Eggsy calls this one Gogo. Okay, so that's what it's called. So Gogo is basically an affectionate way of saying an old lady or a granny. So this is Gogo the bushbuck, the granny bushbuck. But it looks very happy where it is. I feel like it's found itself a nice place. You can see it's not really perturbed by us either. I mean, I'm sitting here without any cover whatsoever between me and that bushbuck. And yes, it looked at us for a while, but it's decided we're not a threat. I've seen so many people on foot in its life that it's just going about its business. And isn't that amazing? I know it's obviously... I know it's not beautiful in that it's kind of got a building behind it, but I think it's very, very cool to see wildlife within our own structures. Now, MK, you say it's going to raid the minibar. Maybe Gogo is a bit of an alky on the side. What do you think, Fergus? Do you think she tucks into a few... Teetotaler, you think? You don't think she has some spice in her tea, Fergus? No. Okay. So she doesn't have some spice in her tea. She's a teetotaler, according to Fergus. Fergus watches her quite regularly, so, I suppose he would know more than anyone else. Now, you can hear there's a bit of clapping in the background. Now, that clapping will be probably some of the housekeepers chasing monkeys away from trying to get into the rooms, because the vervets and the baboons at this time of the day are very naughty. They come into this area and they start going through every single room because they know the game drives have just left, and so guests have gone out, and often guests are a little forgetful and don't latch a window or close a door or something like that. All right, now we're going to carry on. We're going to see what else we can find. Hopefully we'll pick up some sort of tracks that we can work with. In the meantime, let's go send you back across to Sydney and that amazing sighting of the swimming hyenas.
Look at the hyenas are now trying to chew some of the sticks from the trees. Maybe this helps them to sharpen their eyes. But I think from crashing the bones are strong enough in order to sharpen the teeth. Look at that. They're using this as a toothbrush, maybe. Oh, and it's a guari bush. The guari bush is one of those trees we are using in order to make toothbrush. So hyenas, they are also using the very same thing. Interesting. I can hear some noise here. It seems like there are wild dogs in this area where we are. You can hear the hyenas are also now replying to that. The wild dogs are not far away from where I am. That is lovely. I was just quiet so that you can hear and enjoy that hyena call. This hyena is now responding to a call given earlier by the wild dogs. It's just from the western side of the game reserve, which is now the northern side of my vehicle, is where the wild dog noise is coming from. So I'm just going to be here and try to investigate if we can see the wild dogs this morning. Maybe these hyenas are going to lead us to that site. This is amazing. So you can see that the sightings are so very much unpredictable, as when I started, my plan was to go and see the cats. And now I have got the hyena here with me, and from the hyena I can hear the wild dogs calling. So that whole plan has changed. Oh, this one is injured. So this one is injured. If you can just show them a little bit here. You can see that this one has got an injury. They're not too sure what has happened. But hyenas, they do approach quite a lot of different other predators to try and get hold of the food. Maybe that is a sign that there was a fight between these hyenas and something else, because I can see that tooth mark is very much big. That tooth mark is very much big. Or maybe it's a branch. This is happening right here. You can see they're just about even less than a meter away from me. You can see here. It's right by my tire. Look at that. This is interesting. You can hear the wild dogs are calling again. They're all coming back again. This hyenas. This is one of my best sightings. Just want to see what this one is thinking about to do with that big log there, which is for the rubbing post. Maybe he's going back there for toothbrush. Yeah, you see, now he's back for the toothbrush. This is amazing. It is a hyena morning. Oh, one of them is deep already in the guarre bush. They're just breaking small piece of branches from the mouth. Crystal, indeed, this is a best sighting ever since I have arrived here in Djuma, but also from the beginning of my career in 2007 until now, this, I can promise you, is my best sighting. I'm just going to try and reverse so that we can enjoy the sighting again. I'm not going to leave these hyenas now. I think they still have got a lot to show me. So I'm going to reverse now and reposition myself for a better sighting. So they are now deciding to go towards the southern side of the game reserve. Some of them are now running at high speed. So now let's go to Brand, who is driving, and see what he's doing there in Masai Mara.
Well, we're now down towards the Kishangai stream, the last place Kinky Tail and the sausages were seen. And the last time I was down here, there was not a wildebeest in sight. But now, there are thousands, and we've just been moving along the edge of them, hoping to spot the lions or some vultures, signs of the lions. And it's a good area because Narratoy is often down here as well, and maybe even Nasseria and her sister. All streaming north at the moment. Magical! Let's keep moving. There's a big group down right next to the river, and if I was a big cat, that's where I would be. Oof. Difficult question from Proud Cat Mama. Where in Africa has the largest population of lions? Now, I'm not sure if you mean, or which country, has the largest population of lions, or which reserve.
I am following the hyenas at the moment just to try and see if these hyenas are going to lead us to the wild dogs, and I'm not too sure if these wild dogs are calling from the property. So the sound is coming from much more eastern side of the boundary of the game reserve. Mercy, the hyenas are not scared of the wild dogs. If you can check between the hyenas and the wild dogs, the ones which are less aggressive is the wild dogs. The hyenas are very much aggressive and not even worried about approaching dangerous cats such as the lions. So I'm just going to try and get them again. I can see now they are going to the main road. So it seems like these hyenas knows very well where the wild dogs are, because they are all now heading towards where that sound the wild dogs was coming from. So now let's go back to Brent and see what is he having at the moment. So I will be...
Well, sorry about that. We seem to have disappeared for a second, but we're back. And Proud Cat Mama was asking, where's the largest population of lions in Africa? Now, as I said, I'm not sure if you meant which country or which area. So the Mara has one of the highest densities of lions for its size, but it definitely doesn't have one of the largest populations of lions. You would probably have to say the Kruger or the Northern Botswana complex, Chobe, Maremi, Savuti. Oh, Stigi would have probably the largest population, but I'm not 100% sure, Proud Cat Mama. That's me theorizing. Oh, hold on, this is going to be slippery. Oh, hang on. No, see, it's pulled me off. Kirst, what was that? Sorry, I was concentrating on driving. Oh, dearie me. There we go. It is very sticky. Hold on, I'm going to have to go quite fast here. And slide around the corner. Whee! And that's how you do it. Now, of course, with all this rain and the wildebeest being in this area, and this is Sausage Tree Pride country, it could make for some interesting times. Okay. Hold on. While I navigate some tricky spots, let's go across to Tristan. Ah, mud everywhere.
Well, Brent Leo Smith, if karma hits you and you get stuck, this will be the best day ever, because you've been very vocal about me getting stuck, even though I only got stuck once in an Amara sort of monsoon, and you got stuck, well, when it dried out after I left. So I don't really have too much sympathy if you get stuck today. Anyway, we're sitting in what's probably one of the most impressive markings of territory that I've seen on Djuma in recent times. It's a midden that is around. You can see it is absolutely monstrous. If I take my stick out, you'll see how deep this midden actually is. So it's about that deep in dung, and various kind of droppings that have been dropped out here, which is pretty deep. I mean, that's a lot of dung that's been dropped, and you can actually see how vigorously these animals go about the marking. So it is for a rhino that has made this midden. And you can see that there are these massive long scrape marks that we've got everywhere. So basically what happens is the rhino will walk along. He's going to position his bottom facing towards the mound area. So this is where he'll go. He'll then lift his tail and droppings will kind of come out. From there, as he's dropping, he's going to be scraping his legs like this, which will break up all of the dung so that you get basically this effect. You can see it's mixed in with soil, but it's all broken up quite nicely. And that just spreads it over a much larger area and keeps that smell integrated with the soil, so any other rhino that comes through here can then smell it. What he then does is, after he's got it all over his feet, he then drags his feet forward basically like this, and you can see he's scraped all the way across the road, and basically then takes that scent with him, spreads it over a large area, and just basically expands his midden out and makes it much larger, and makes a lot of mess. And so they do this so that once they've finished there, anywhere where they walk, their scent is taken with them. So now I'm basically going to drag his scent around wherever I go as the kind of well, male rhino basically. Now what you'll notice though is that on the fringes of these middens, you find these big balls like this. Now this hasn't been broken up at all. It's obviously quite safe to handle this because this is just a herbivore and it's not going to do anything. But these big balls that you see that are on the fringes of the middens are made by subadult males or females, and so they do not do the same process as what you see with a male. A male will mark his territory, break it all up, and he's quite fine for other males to actually defecate here as well as females, as long as the balls are not kicked open and they're not marked in the same way that he does. So a female is welcome to do this around the fringes. It's actually almost a way that they can communicate with one another and figure out who's in their territories, but as long as it's not kicked open, he won't have too much of a fuss. He'll just kind of smell it and then walk off. If it's kicked open and another male has gone to his toilet, well, then he gets quite irate and he'll try and hunt that male down to push him out and get rid of him. What's interesting though is that you will find sometimes black rhinos will defecate on a white rhino midden, and it sends the white rhinos into an absolute frenzy. They hate it, and it's quite funny to watch actually, because you can see he gets quite huffy and puffy, makes lots and lots of noise, and then he'll try and kind of follow that scent, and then he immediately will go to the toilet on top of where the black rhino is gone. Now it's actually quite apt that I've been playing in the dung this morning, because my socks are pretty good for this. So I've got my lucky pair of socks on. I wear these quite regularly, but those are my Puji socks, and so they go quite well with walking around in big piles of poo, basically. Anyway, it was just so cool to see, because you can see how vigorous they are when they do it. It's like a whole road just gets covered in it. So, Ravinda, yes, the rhinos do go back to the same middens. Essentially what's happening is the male knows that he's got a territory, right, and it's quite large, and he needs to be able to kind of mark as much as he can within that territory and make sure that he's got, you know, basically a lot of points where it's marked that other males can know where he is, as well as females. And so there is certain points on the fringes and within the territory that these middens are formed, and it's basically every time he comes past on his territorial patrol, he's defecating in the same place. And that basically then refreshes that scent, makes sure that everybody kind of knows that it's him. Now, a lot of other animals do it, it's just not as noticeable. So impalas do it on a much smaller scale. You'll also find hyenas do it, civets do it, and even if you think of the big cats, there's most definitely pathways that a lot of the big cats love to walk. So leopard, lions, they have very much favorite areas. We know with following Hosana, Tingana, how they cross certain sections and they make sure that they always kind of follow a certain line. And they'll urinate on pretty much the same trees every single time. We just don't notice it because it evaporates and dries. Whereas with his, because of the size of the animal and the amount of dung he produces, being basically a hindgut fermenter, it makes a much more visual sort of show of his territorial marking. But essentially, yes, they go to the same place regularly for years and years and years, as long as that bull is territorial in that area, which is quite amazing. Right, now we are still kind of striding our way slowly to the east, and the reason why is that, well, no one has followed up on Hosana or Tingana, and Fergus tells me that last night there really wasn't much meat left at all, and so I want to go and see if maybe one of them has gone up towards Buffelshoek Dam or has moved out of that area, and so we're going to just kind of head in the rough direction. I don't think we'll go right towards the kill, just in case both are there. I don't want to scare any of them, but we'll just check if there's not one of them that's maybe left, and we can go and have a look. It seems like the lions are still on the Buffelshoek side of Djuma, that they haven't actually crossed into our area just yet. Right, now, while I kind of meander down Central and see what else we can find, let's send you back across to Sydney, and I wonder if he's still sitting with his favourite hyenas.
The hyenas already decided to say goodbye to us. They are gone now towards the eastern side of the game reserve. And I can see that their movement is determined by the call from the wild dogs. So now I am going to go back and stick to my original plan, which is looking for Tingana and Hosana. I will be now heading towards the central part of the game reserve. Maybe I'll be lucky with one of those cats. I have also not seen Tingana for a long time, as well as Tandy and Kalamba since I got back from my off days. If I see any of these cats, it will be my first sighting. So I miss them a lot. So I've just heard that yesterday they were all spotted. Two of them, not Tandy and Kalamba, Osana and Tingana. There were some activities taking place around Nyala Road. So we can go up this Mulawati. We're going to be now heading towards the Mulawati dry riverbed. So Dave, my camera operator, is suggesting that we go through this drainage line just to see if we can find them here. Very much difficult to see the tracks here as the sand is very much soft, so the tracks, they go deep. So now let's go back to the guided walk and see how Tristan is doing. Maybe he's got some of the tiny little things there.
We do actually have a tiny little thing that I've just spotted. I hadn't had one, but I've just spotted it now. I hope it's not going to fly away, but given that it is quite cool this morning, I think that our little butterfly should stay, and it is a beautiful, beautiful butterfly. I'm actually not 100% sure what it is, but look at this. Isn't that amazing? It's a beautiful white coloration with these little black spots on it. Now, we haven't seen too many butterflies at all, so this is super exciting to be able to see them again. They really are such beautiful creatures, and you know, the last few years we've struggled a little bit with butterflies. We haven't really had that many around with the dry conditions. It hasn't been that successful, but now as we start to get to warmer temperatures, I'm thinking that we should start to see these guys more and more. Now, you'll notice at the back end there's two little tails coming off, so I wonder if this is a hair-tail butterfly, one of the hair-tails. I'm sure some of you will be able to help us, but it is really very pretty. It's got this beautiful creamy white color with these black spots. How nice is that? So contrasty to the dry winter grass to see a butterfly. Now, we know it's a butterfly and not a moth for a number of reasons. Firstly, you can see coming off the front of the head there are long, thin antennae with a little bulbous end to them. So club-like end is what we call it. So that is typical of the butterflies. A moth would have a feathery antenna. Also, the way that this butterfly is sitting, you see that it is sitting with its wings folded up. So the two wings are closed together. Moths will sit with their wings out and exposed a little bit more. Obviously, butterflies do open and close their wings quite a lot, and if it's been a bit wet or misty or dewy, then you'll find that their wings are open just to dry them before they fly. But that is so cool. I love spending time looking at insects. It's one of my favorite things about bushwalk. I obviously enjoy tracking side of things, and I know, Steve and Sydney are very much plant guys and enjoy spending a lot of time with plants. But for me, insects, it was absolutely amazing. Now, I believe all of you are saying a Dalmatian butterfly. Yes, I should have known that, given the kind of spotted pattern of it. It seems very much like that, but amazing to see. I wonder how many other insects we're going to be able to find as we go along. I haven't looked too much because it's been winter and it's been fairly cold over the last few weeks. It's not really been great for insect viewing, and so I haven't spent much time actually looking for them. But it just goes to show you that sometimes if you just look a little closer, there's actually quite a lot that is around that you can find. And so we'll keep kind of scrounging around through the grasses as we go. I wonder if maybe there's some other butterfly species. I've been starting to see them more and more and more over the last few days. Now, what we've also got here is something that, well, has unfortunately met its end, but essentially it is a bulb. Now, you can see it's been compressed and squashed, and this is typical of elephants. The elephants will be the ones that actually do this. And if we open it out, you can actually see all the layers that are inside there, and there's basically the central bulb right in the middle over here. Now, what this plant actually was, difficult to say because it has been squashed quite a bit. I would go for a tall white squill bulb, so they're quite common here. We see them quite often. They come up in the summer months. You don't see them in winter at all, so the bulb sits dormant in the grass or in the soil, and then this long stem comes up with this beautiful feathery white kind of end to it. And the tall white squill, like I say, should come up right in the beginning of summer. The first rains we get, we should start to see this plant, and the elephants absolutely love it. They don't eat the big stem that comes up and the feathery end. They only eat the bulb, and so they use their feet to get up, pull it out, and then they put it in their mouth and they just crunch it down, and they take a few layers off, and then they drop this middle section. So it's more the outer layers that they're looking for. But this particular one is very, very old. You can see it's quite dry now. It has lost all of its kind of succulent nature that it would have had when it was first dug up. But quite cool to see. It's been a while since I've actually seen one just lying out and about. They're fairly common actually under the soil. You'll find the ellies dig them up quite a bit. In fact, you can see here where this ellie was digging. So that's what they look like when they are exposed. Now, I actually don't think this was from an elephant, funnily enough, which is quite interesting. If you look here, on either side of this little bulb, you'll notice that there's two scrape lines coming off, and so I think a porcupine has actually been the one that has been trying to get to this. So porcupines will dig quite well and are very fond of tubers and those kind of things. I'm just trying to see if I can find some tracks. These are very, very old. You can see there's even a bit of kind of water spotlets on here, so this is before the rain even, but definitely it was dug rather with smaller feet rather than a big elephant foot. A big elephant foot would have kicked forward. There would have been quite a big mess around here. This has been carefully excavated around. You can actually even see little claw marks there. So my guess would be a porcupine that went after this. I'm just trying to see if there's any gnaw marks on it. I don't see anything, although this side might have a few little teeth marks. Can you see just on the edge here? There's a few little kind of, almost looks like it's been gnawed away a little bit. But that's what would have gotten to this, and you can see how green and fleshy it actually is where it's been exposed. This is all dried out because the sun is hitting it, and that's the sort of northern side. And remember, now in winter the sun is quite far north, and so we're getting sunshine that's going around this bulb from this side to this side, and so the back side over here is not as dry as this front side on that. Very, very cool to see, though. I didn't expect to find one of them still in the ground. Just goes to show, like I was saying, they are quite common and they're actually all over the place here. Right, let's carry on, Fergus. Let's see what else we can find. Now, because Sydney is heading off to the leopards, we're going to give a wide berth. I don't want to disturb them and allow him to actually kind of get in there. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Brent Leo Smith, who hasn't gotten stuck yet, but you never know what could happen by the end of the game drive.
Hi guys, I've just got a report of the Sausage Tree Pride on the other side of this river system. Whoa, that's a deep one. So I'm just trying to get there as quickly as possible. Slip, 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 sliding. Now the interesting thing is that the guys said that yesterday they saw them as well mating with two males, and they are not the males we know as, or Kipuli and the two young sausages. So new males have been mating with the girls of the Sausage Tree Pride. Now, between where the males are and the girls are at the moment, the Sausage Tree males that is about 20 kilometers or so. So they really have almost split while those males have been focused on mating with the salt licks. Okay. Now, apparently they were heading this way somewhere. I'm just going to hold on, see if we can catch up with them. I was saying it's quite sticky terrain today. Heading towards those two big figs is the last I heard. So what I want to do is I'm going to try to get away from the river system here where I know it's really wet. And probably try cut in from here. Now there is a big herd of wildebeest and zebra beyond the direction where they're heading. Apparently those two males just ran off this way. They were a bit skittish. I think we'll go along. There we go, that's what I was looking for. So we just got to keep our eyes peeled. Apparently they were heading this way, through this wet grass. The grass is still quite long here, even though it has been mowed a little bit by the wildebeest and zebra. All I can see is a ostrich. Okay, I'm going to try and find out where the sausages have gone. While we do that, let's send you back to Sydney, who's looking for some spots.
I am now approaching the area where the last sighting of Tingana and Hosana was yesterday. I'm just about 5 to 8 meters away from that area. I am slowly approaching there and hoping to find something. So I've been checking this road, and from the beginning of this road I have not yet picked up any tracks, which is just a confirmation to me that these cats might be still on the same area. So all I'm seeing on the ground is the sorry for that, all I'm seeing on the ground is the hyena tracks. Yeah, no other tracks apart from the hyenas. So I can see that there was a duiker just jumped off the road. A very shy animal. You can see there we get a duiker. Duikers and the Hosana, they get along, you know. Hosana and duikers. Seems like Hosana is very much addicted to the duikers. So every time I see the duiker, I think about Hosana and his butchery next to the Galago area. So the duiker decided to go away. But it is a very shy animal in nature. So now I can see there's some elephant tracks, quite a lot of elephant tracks on the road. So it means here where I am, not only the cats are here, but also the big mammals. So now, let's go to Tristan on a guided walk. He's looking at something very, very interesting.
Well, we are looking at something quite interesting because generally most of the plants out here are fairly healthy and we don't see too many signs of any issues on our plants. And this particular young jackalberry, it's a very, very small jackalberry that's still growing, has a fungus that's busy attacking it, particularly the leaves. So I'm going to break a leaf off so I can actually show you quite nicely. But essentially what you've got is, you see here, you've got all these little black spots that are on it. And now I'm not 100% sure on what fungus, or which fungus this is. I would imagine it's maybe part of the rust fungus family. Rust fungus is quite common out here and we see it quite regularly, but the rust fungus generally causes quite a gritty circle to be made, and when you rub it you can actually feel the particles coming off, which on this I don't feel. It's completely smooth, so I'm not 100% sure what's decaying this leaf. I took a picture now to go and try and identify what kind of fungus it could be. Now the reason why I say rust fungus is that often when you have a rust fungus develop, if you have a look here on this particular leaf, you see that it starts to go quite red in the middle of where the fungus outbreak is. So that red coloration there is obviously a rusty color, and so that's where it gets its name from. But this particular one is not one that I've seen at all. It seems to have got a bit of a grey in it as well, so we'll try go back and have a little look and see what we can get. But this poor plant is being absolutely ravaged by it, and I would imagine it's because it's now in the winter times, it's struggling for water and food, and therefore is a little bit more compromised, and that's why this fungus is developing. How it's going to cope with it, I'm not quite sure. It's going to be interesting to see if this tree actually will sort itself out, and once the summer comes will actually be okay. Interestingly enough though, you would think a green tree like this, especially this size, would be eaten. Well, you can see that it's not, and so it does probably produce quite a lot of tannin, and that's why we're not seeing any signs of it being fed on at all. If this was a tree that was tasty, well, the nyalas and the impalas would have absolutely hammered this out here. What it is being used for at the moment, a small tree like this, is it's being used as a perch for a certain bird. Now I keep finding the same bird actually sitting on this particular tree. It's called a lilac-breasted roller, and you can actually see evidence of the bird sitting here because it's pooed all over this tree. So if you look inside there, you can see a bit of white, which is leftover urea from the bird itself. So when a bird goes to the toilet, they will defecate both urea and solids in the form of one little defecation. So urea is basically our urine, and the urea part is this white part, and then the black part is the actual solid part. But there's all kinds of spots all over this tree where this poor bird has defecated on it. And I've actually seen, like I say, this roller sitting here, and how it balances, it sits on this particular branch at the back here. There's like a little open branch, and it balances as the wind blows this poor bird, and then it hawks off here and grabs things. I've also seen a fork-tailed drongo that sits on this little jackalberry as well. Right, now what we're going to be doing is we've, like I said, changed our mission. We're not going to be going for leopards, but there is a herd of elephants somewhere not far. We've got their tracks and we can hear them to our south. So we're going to try and see if we can find that herd of ellies. We're going to use the road for a little bit because I just want to be 100% sure they haven't crossed over this particular road. So we're on Vulture's Nest now, and we're going to try and see if we can just get across along here and see if there's any sign of these ellies crossing before we carry on. So Bob, we do get fungus or mushrooms that grow, but not now. So they will be in the summer months when it's a little bit more wet and conditions are favorable for fungus growth. We get a really, really big mushroom that grows to about this size, which is absolutely amazing to see. Last year I didn't see many of them, but the year before we had a few that came out, and they kind of last for about a week, and then they completely degrade and are gone. But it's a beautiful mushroom. It's got this kind of coppery color to the top of it. Very, very, very pretty mushroom. So you get those, and then you'll get things like shaggy ink caps, which is a small mushroom that grows, and it gets this little white kind of head to it that slowly but surely starts to degrade. And what happens is as the mushroom produces new spores in order to reproduce, it basically lets out these spores, and the spores there's so many that it forms this congealed almost liquid is what it looks like, much like ink. And so that's where the shaggy ink cap name comes from, as this mushroom kind of then starts to release all these spores, and it just, this thick goo comes down onto the ground below. It's pretty cool to actually see. So there's those. There's all kinds of little mushrooms that grow up, particularly in things like elephant dung or like a rhino midden, like we saw earlier. You'll find a lot of mushrooms growing inside those things during the summer months when it's a little bit more damp and the conditions are a bit more favorable. Also warm, actually. You know, the cold would hammer a mushroom out here. But nice though when summer comes. It's always good to have all of these things once again. I thoroughly enjoy having, you know, mushrooms around and flowers and insects. Makes things, especially on a walk, makes things so much more interesting, you know. Even, I suppose now in winter is always good, but in summer for me a walk is just the best thing. It's hot, obviously, but it is amazing to kind of see all the little things that occur. Good, right, we're going to carry on moving towards these ellies, see if we can find them. While we do that, let's send you back across to Sydney and see if he's had any luck with those leopards.
There is no luck yet. I am right here around Central and the Nyala Road to try and find something. I've been trying to backtrack all the tracks from yesterday, but so far I have not yet picked up any fresh tracks. So I'm checking everywhere around the drainage layer. I'm also trying to sniff if I can pick up any of the scent, but there's nothing. But there must be somewhere here in this area, as they just had a meal yesterday, so I don't think they can travel a long distance. I'm just gonna go back to where the sighting was again to try and double check there. I'm gonna go back right to the exit spot now. So I'm just trying to check also high up by these very big trees. So now let's go to my other colleague and see how Mara is doing at the moment while I'm looking for these cats.
Okay, well, we've managed to spot the lions, but they are incredibly far away. So I'm just trying to find a spot where I can access where they are. They're up under it, looks like a fig tree up on top of this hill to the right of us. So we're going to go try to find the shortest possible route to them. I think this should be it here somewhere. Okay. Okay, here we go again. Into the sea of grass we travel. So I think they've been hanging out in this area for a while, and it is quite difficult to spot them because often they are very, very far from the roads. There are no roads in this big block here. Now, I came from the other side, and just over this hill there's more wildebeest and zebra, so they might be heading towards there. Michael, is asking, am I allowed to drive off-road in the Mara? I'm driving off-road right now, Michael. In certain circumstances, yes. And in the Mara, you have areas that are called high usage zones, and there you are not allowed to drive off-road. That's because it's a very busy area. There are a lot of cars, and they would do quite a lot of damage if everyone was allowed to drive off-road there. And in terms of the off-roading, you are only allowed to off-road for cats in the Mara, so lion, cheetah, leopard. And Jamie has special permission for the hyenas. So, but yes, we are allowed to off-road. Okay. Now we get into the rocks. That's the problem when you climb these hills in the Mara. They are often very rocky. So I'm just keeping a close lookout here for rocks. There's lots of rocks hiding in the grass here. Now what I generally try to do is you get these rocks in patches, and then you'll have a little sort of like plateau in between the rocks, and I try basically ride these plateaus for as long as possible before I have to climb over the rocks themselves. But fortunately, the wildebeest and zebra have done me a favor here. They've made the grass quite short, so I'm able to spot the rocks quite easily. Okay, well, my good friend Tristan is getting some exercise. I'm going to keep heading towards the lions, and hopefully Tristan has found something interesting for you.
Well, good luck, Brenty. Hopefully you find those lions. I know you're still making your way that way, so hopefully you will. Now you'll notice that I'm speaking in a little bit more of a hushed tone, and that's because, well, we're getting closer and closer to those ellies now, so I'm slowly moving through. I think there's a duiker, actually, that's bounding through the bush. Hello, duiker. They really are quite fast. They move very, very quickly as they go. But basically what we're doing is we just slowly we came around the wind. So we went from the northern side, we came all the way around. The wind is kind of gusting, as I was saying this morning, from the southwest. And so we've come around now onto the western side of eastern side, sorry. It's coming from the southwest, we're on the eastern side. I'll get that right eventually. And so basically what we're doing is we're just trying to get onto the other side so that the ellies scent is blowing to us and not us to them, and we shouldn't be too far from where I heard them, where Herbie heard them as well. Should be just to the north, kind of west of our position right now. And so if we just come up slowly on this eastern side, we should theoretically see them fairly shortly. Now I'm making poor Fergus walk through some horrible thickets at the moment backwards, so I'm going to go in front for a bit, Fergus, so that you get a bit more comfort in the way that you're able to walk. But like I say, we just got to keep our eyes out and just see what's going on. So Matt, who's a new viewer, you want to know how it's safe for me to wander around on foot. Well, Matt, you see this stick here? This is a magic stick. And so if I just wield it like a crazy person, then everything runs away from us and keeps... No, I'm joking. Basically what happens is that out here on foot, there's two things that keep you safe. Firstly is that you have a lot of respect for the environment and keep your eyes open and your ears and your senses and don't make too much noise as you walk around. Then you'll hear things coming and you'll hear things around you that will allow you to make an informed decision as to where you're going so that you don't get yourself into a dangerous situation. The second thing is that there is an experience factor here. Many people, when they start guiding, want to walk around immediately, and it doesn't quite work like that. Is that you have to go undergo some training to be out here. In fact, you've got to try and encounter 50 dangerous animals before you get your qualification, as well as a whole bunch of rifle handling tests. And so in front of me at the moment is Herbie. Now Herbie is basically our security detail and tracker extraordinaire. And so basically what happens is, while I'm talking to all of you, because I've got an earpiece here, I can't hear what's going on very well, and I can't really be as observant as I want to because we're talking to you guys. And so that that means that Herbie is our safety point. He's with us to make sure that he spots things before we do and keeps us in safe positions that we don't get hurt. And he'll do that by seeing animals and then working out wind directions, working out, noise factors, all of those kind of things, and what the animal's doing. And then he'll position us accordingly that we can either view that animal or to say to us, it's not safe, we need to get out of here. And so that will depend entirely on what we come across. So, is it an elephant? Is it lions? Is it a female leopard with a cub? What's going on? And then we make an assessment from there. But essentially, if you're respectful and you listen and you look and you're aware of your environment, you generally can make very informed decisions that should keep you very, very safe out here. Obviously, there's always an element of risk with anything that you do when you walk out in a dangerous game area like this, where there are lions, leopards, elephants, and the likes. You've got to be very, very careful, and you've just got to make sure that you rather err on the side of caution. And so not get too blasé and too sort of complacent in that there is somebody with a rifle. You need to make sure that you kind of walk as though you don't have a rifle and err on, like I say, on the side of caution. And it's also the last thing we want to be doing out here is ever having to engage with an animal and shoot it. So we're going to try and do everything we can to try and rather get out of a situation than to try and use that rifle. So it's always good to think, all you've got is a stick. What would I do if I only had a stick and not a firearm? And then make your decisions from there. And that's it. It's basically then just spending hours and hours out here, learning a little bit about animal behavior, knowing what signs to look for that will stop you from getting yourself into dangerous situations. So look at the tracks that you're following. Is there babies? Is that animal injured? Any of those kind of things before you make an assessment. Good. We're going to keep going. Hopefully we should get close to the ellies. They should be somewhere in this little wooded thicket in front of us. We're going to try to get into a good spot to see them. And while we do that, let's send you across to Brent and the kinky tail lioness of the Sausage Tree Pride.
Well, there she is, Kinky Tail herself, looking a little bit hungry. The rest of the pride are just up ahead. We just had quite a scary experience on our way up here. Now, I've spent quite a bit of time in this area following the Sausage Tree Pride, so let's keep doing them. I can hear some wildebeest not far away. And we were sitting down below here in the Kishingai stream with them a while ago, and on this side of the river we saw the tourist vehicles driving, and there was a buffalo who was completely nuts and kept chasing all the tourist vehicles. And while we were off-road, all of a sudden this buffalo started charging towards us. I just want to see where he's gone. He's an absolute nut job. I can't see him anymore. But yeah, so we actually had to try speed and bang on the car to get the buffalo to stop trying to chase us. Anyway, excitement for the morning definitely woke me up. And I'm very happy to be with the Sausage Tree females. I haven't seen them in some time. And of course, as they love to do, they love to take me for walks through the rocks. And as I can hear some wildebeest just over this ridge. Hold on, bumpity bump. I'm just trying to find these. Oh my goodness, she's got a massive wound. Kinky Tail's got a massive wound. We couldn't see it from the other side, and it's fresh as well. But quickly across to Tristan.
Now, as you'll see, we've got a nice surprise for all of you in the form of not an elephant, but a spotty cat. Now, just in front of us is Thandi, and she's just kind of walking through the bush. So I'm just going to try and get a view of her quickly. It's very, very exciting to be able to see. Now, just watching where Herbie is, just to try and see if I can see where she is. She was just behind this thicket here, kind of moving from our right to our left, and so we're going to try and see if we can see her. There she is, there she is. She looks like she might actually have a kill. I just saw her pick something up off the ground. She's gone straight through towards, you see where this fallen over tree is? Straight in there is where she's walked to the left. It looked like she picked something up. So I wonder if she doesn't have a kill there. Let's just try and see if we can just position ourselves slightly differently. This is very, very exciting. It's always amazing when you get a leopard on foot. The problem is that sightings on foot often don't last very long. So let's just try and see. Also have to be very careful when you're approaching a leopard that they're not too aggressive. Right, now we're going to just take this onto our various other platforms. So I'm just going to keep quiet as we inch our way closer. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this live broadcast from South Africa's Niconico Private Game Reserve. As you can see, we're on foot at the moment, and I'm whispering because we've just bumped into a female leopard, and it looks like she might have a kill. We're just trying to get into a better spot to be able to see her. She should be somewhere up in front. You can see Herbie's with us. He's our security and our tracker extraordinaire that managed to find her this morning, and so we're going to try and see if we can get some sort of a view. Now, before we do that, my name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Fergus, and this is live and interactive, and that means that you can ask any questions that you may have by posting in the comment section below. Now, the last time I saw her was just behind this bush moving away from us, so I just want to see if she's not here somewhere. It's obviously very difficult to spot a leopard on foot. They're quite shy animals, they're elusive, they don't really want to be seen, and so when you're walking, it's important to stay nice and quiet and to look very, very closely as to what's going on. Now we're just trying to keep our noise down a little bit. She should be here somewhere on the left-hand side. The problem is that it's normally fleeting glimpses when it's on foot with a leopard, unless they're up in a tree or they're sitting on a mound and they're far off, then it can be quite tough. So here's the kill here. You can see where she actually killed something. There is some blood on the ground there. Now that's where she picked it up. That's where I last saw her picking up and dragging this carcass. Now I don't want to push her too hard and to go too close, but there you go. You can see where she actually killed something. So Davey, you say please be safe. Now Herbie's calling me to come a little bit closer. Now Herbie is very good in these situations. He knows these leopards incredibly well, and so it's good for us just to have a little look. Now I'm not sure what she killed, but it looks like maybe a dyke or something like that. But come have a look at this. This is absolutely amazing. So if you have a look here, you'll be able to see through here all the blood that is all over the place. So it's a very, very fresh kill that she's made. She's managed to probably pull it down during the course of the night or early this morning, and she's kind of pulled out the stomach. There we go. So you can see she's there. There she is. So she's just watching us. Do you see that? Look how amazing that is. A leopard on foot with a kill. This is a very, very special thing. This is not something you're going to see every single day. And we are probably, I would say, about 50 meters from where she is. And I don't want to stress her too much, so we're going to get a quick glimpse of her, and then we're probably going to back out of this area. She doesn't look too phased at this stage. She's quite comfortable. This kill must be very, very fresh. I don't think that she would have been here for very long. I think she's dragging it, and you can see what she did is she's dragged it towards a tree where she'll be able to then put it up the tree for safety. Now she does have a cub, and I'm not sure if she's brought her cub back here just yet. I think possibly she might have, and she's looking around. She's looking at us, and she's actually not being aggressive at all. As long as we don't go any closer and we don't try and take that kill from her, I think we'll be okay. Look, she's going to sit down. Is she going to start feeding while we're on foot? No, look, she's picked it up. It looks like a big impala that she's gotten. Isn't that amazing? Look at the strength of that animal. She's dragging a carcass that is almost double her weight by the looks of things, and that is incredible. How amazing is this? This is a very special thing. Like I say, to see a leopard in a vehicle is amazing, but to see a leopard on foot with a kill is as good as it's ever going to get. Now, Fernando, you say this is amazing. Well, Fernando, this is as amazing as you'll ever see. It is really very special that she's giving us this view that we're getting now. She's kind of gone behind a little bit of a bush, so Fergus is just going to move slightly in front of me to be able to then just get you a nice clear view of her head so that you guys can see what's going on. But she is far more chilled than I actually thought she would be. I thought she would be a little bit more kind of worried about us, but she's actually stopping now and is having a little bit of a feed, and then she's going to drag it a little bit further. It actually might even be a bushbuck that she's got there, but look at that power and strength. Right, she's disappeared behind a bush. We're not going to follow her any further than that because, well, she's unfortunately going to get a little bit scared of us if we go any closer, and so we've got an amazing sighting. That is so incredible. So we have to thank Herbie because Herbie spotted her first, but what a wonderful treat that we got this morning. Now we're going to carry on. We're going to get one of our vehicles in here so that they can come and view it, which she'll be far more comfortable with. And so we're going to say goodbye for now. I hope that you all enjoy that, and we'll see you all again next time. Right, guys, how unbelievable was that? I can still actually see her, just see her tip of her tail, but we're going to stay here, and in the meantime, let's send you back across to Brent Leo Smith, who's with, well, Kinky Tail and her pride, and I wonder if they also have food of their own.
Well, we've caught up with the rest of the Sausage Tree Pride. Kinky Tail's sleeping down below on the other side of that termite mound. There's another female who's just popped out of nowhere. They're all looking a little bit hungry, but that's okay because the migration is close by. I didn't get a really good look at that wound that's on Kinky Tail's left flank, basically just in front of her back leg. But it does look like it could have been a horn or a claw, and it's definitely not a bite mark. Oh, I'll try get around. Let's see if we can to get a better visual now that everyone's flopping down behind this termite mound. But before we do that, there are wildebeest and zebra really close to us. I mean, I can hear them, and we can just see a few of the zebra heads through the long grass there. So there they are. Not far away at all. So as the day moves on, you never know, these animals might move in this direction to where the lions are lying. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens next here. Okay, let's move around to see if we can get a better view of the rest of the pride. Now, as I did say, we are in the rocks properly now, so you'll see I'm going to be bouncing around a bit. And there's some serious car killers in this long grass. Ah, Jojo? Possibly. Maybe Kinky Tail's wound is from that nasty buffalo who I can see now. There's the nasty buffalo. The one that tried to chase us earlier. I had to bang the side of the car and use some stern words with him. Even from this distance, he looks like a grumpy buffalo. Okay, let's keep moving around. Oh, there's a big rock. Tina is wondering, do we ever... Oh, there we go. That's what you got to watch out for, Archer. Tina, I will get to your question in a second. See, I can't even see the rock I hit. It's in the grass somewhere. See those ones, like that one there. And see, in the grass, there's a massive boulder in there. Those are the ones you got to watch out for. Now, it's unlikely we're going to be able to see the wound because what she'll probably do is lie with that wound down on the grass. Oh, there we go, there's another lion. Sorry. Lion just popped up right in front of me in the grass. So we'll go a bit wider. And the reason for that is to keep the flies out of the wound. So we've got all 5 females together. Just trying to see where's Kinky. She might be the one lying in the thick grass. No, there she is. She's the one with her head up. Okay, well, we're going to play the patience game with the sausage tree pride. While we do that, let's send you back to Tristan and Tundi.
Well, we're not watching Tanya at the moment. We're just waiting for Sydney to get here. So Herbie's just keeping an eye on her while I have a look around at what's happened. But basically, I don't think Tundi killed this. I think Tundi has pilfered this kill from the wild dogs. And I'll tell you why. If you look inside here, this is where this particular kill kind of was. There's blood all over the place here. You can see stomach contents that have been ripped out on this area. And so I know this is not for sensitive viewers because this is quite a traumatic crime scene, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. And what happened is I think that this was dragged in here. You can see the fur over there. Now, I think Tundi dragged this carcass in here just now, and then you can oversee at the back here where she scraped to put soil over the top of this carcass to try and hide it. But where it initially was killed was not in this little alcove, it was over here. So you can actually see bits of meat where she dragged it through, and she dragged it this way. And as we come this side, you'll then start to see that there's absolute carnage everywhere. We've got bits of meat lying all over the place. We've got a liver, we've got the stomach content. It doesn't smell at all, so it's very, very fresh. But around us, the soil is all disturbed, and that sign shows a sign that there is a fight. And the biggest key that this wasn't Tundi that killed it is this. Now, if you look here, there is the leg of this animal, and it is off completely and chewed up, and bones have been crunched. And so this is very much a sign of a wild dog kill where they started to feed, and this leopard has then run in and chased them off. You can actually see there's all bits of very good quality meat. I mean, this is a solid chunk of good meat that I wonder if maybe, just maybe, Tundi might come back and fetch a little bit later, or she might just leave it and the hyenas will clean it up. It's definitely not a hyena leopard interaction, this, because if hyenas were being here, they would have stolen this and eaten it for themselves. This is her chasing dogs off, I think, and stealing it for herself and taking it, which is amazing. The thing is, though, is there's still a lot of meat on that carcass. We saw when she was dragging, she was struggling with it, and that is a heavy, heavy, heavy carcass. So she's done very well, and you can actually see how she's dragged it from here, and she's dragged it through, and you can see how big the drag mark is if you just go over the stump. But I can't do that because I'm caught on a tree at the moment, which I've got to try and get myself out of. There we go. But where Fergus is going now, you can actually see this is where she dragged all the way through. Nice big solid drag mark that takes you to where she is. Now the good thing is that she has dragged to an area where she will be able to have lots of trees, lots of cover, and that means it's going to be good for her to be able to put it up in a tree. But how amazing was that? I can tell you now, it is the best thing seeing a leopard on foot, and to see her with that kill was absolutely crazy. So, Tino, which piece of meat would you like for Hosana's pillow? We've got 4 options here. So we've got nice, chunky, soft kind of fillety meat. We've got what looks like maybe a lung over here. That's there. We've got a little leg if we want to maybe prop the pillow up. And then we've got, well, intestines and liver on that side. And so you can see she's lightened the carcass by pulling that out. Now, you think liver, Kirsty? Although the liver has sustained some damage, we can actually see where there are teeth marks, where it's been starting to be chomped away, and on top of that also little hairs. Now these hairs are probably from the body of the impala itself. I don't think this would be from the leopard or the dogs. And what's happened here is, I'm pretty sure when she dragged it under this bush, she saw us and then she tried to drag it away, and she's dragged it over the top of this, and that's what's caused this hair to be kind of put on. But you can see stomach content inside there, all the puncture wounds. Now this typically would be eaten. It's not that a leopard doesn't want to eat this. She would. It's just that she saw us and that's why she moved it away. But amazing, isn't it, that you get to see these kind of things? It's absolutely amazing. Jason, unfortunately not. It's just a lot of drag marks everywhere. I'm pretty sure most of the dog tracks have been obliterated by Tundi as she's moved about this carcass, and particularly with us coming here. Maybe before we arrived you might have found something, but given that we saw her on foot, we didn't know she had a carcass until we got a little bit closer, and I just saw her pick up and go. So I can't see anything now, but what I will tell you, Jason, is that when we went down on Central Road and we were walking towards where Hosanna and Tamba theoretically were, we saw tracks for the dogs coming from this block. And so pretty sure after they drank, they came in here, and then maybe they went out and then back down again, and that's what the hyenas were following. But they must have been very successful last night, because the hyenas seemed like they were eating something. Dogs were calling nearby, and then this as well. It just goes to show you how other predators benefit from the wild dogs just as much as the wild dogs benefit from their own hunting prowess. Pretty incredible, don't you think? I think it's absolutely amazing. And to be able to kind of figure out a crime scene like this is super special. Sitting with Herbie and talking about all the little blood spots and the disturbance of the soil and all the kind of fragments of this particular scene has been quite fascinating and thoroughly enjoyable. Now, as far as I know, she's still somewhere down there. I can't see her anymore, but I don't really want to kind of push any further than where we are right now. She knows we've already seen her, and there's no reason to disturb her anymore. Good. Now we're going to wait for Sydney. I'm sure he's not far now. I heard he was quite close. I can actually hear his vehicle, so we'll get him in here. In the meantime, let's send you back across to Brent and the Sausage Tree Pride.
Well, the sausages are snoozing. They've obviously been busy overnight, and I really wonder how Kinky Tail got that wound. But she's doing exactly what we predicted. She's lying with that wound facing down. Probably quite nice for her, because the ground's wet from all the rain last night, not last year. And it keeps those very annoying insects away. Shame, poor Kinky. Then there's, can you believe, so there's another one lying behind her, then we got these two here, and then there's another female in the grass beyond those two. I think they're just going to lie here and wait for the wildebeest and zebra to come to them. Now, there we go, you can just make out a line there. On the other side, well, on the other side of the valley from us, you can see thousands and thousands upon wildebeest all streaming up to the north. You never know, some of them might cross the valley towards us. And you can see they're spreading out now as it gets warmer, and they'll spread out to feed. And not so much in those big congested groups that they form overnight as protection from the predators. But as I said, I'm very happy to be back with my favorite pride of lions in the Mara, and I haven't seen them for quite some time, only the boys, so it is quite nice. But I think they're going to snooze for a while now. Oh, look at that. Let me just move quickly. We've got some visitors who might, if they head this way, disturb their snooze. They have been heading in this general direction. There's a herd of elephants just beyond that fig tree. Sorry, you broke up there, Kirsten. And go again. You can see there, Ellie's heading up towards the big figs, towards the Sausage Tree Pride. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the Ellies do come this way and chase the sausages, but what we are really hoping for is that the zebra and wildebeest sort of stumble upon to this area where we're hiding. And it's quite possible they do move around quite a lot. Now, remember, #SafariLive. If you have any questions for us, we would love to hear from you. But while you think up a question, I've got a question for you. And it's a migration question, since we are sitting in migration season, and there are 1.7 million wildebeest currently between Kenya and Tanzania. But I'm going to ask you, what is the largest, in terms of numbers, mammal migration in Africa? #SafariLive if you know the answer. What is the largest, in terms of numbers, mammal migration in Africa? So I think the lions are going to give us some time to ponder while they sleep. And maybe the ellies will come through. Maybe the wildebeest and zebra will arrive. So while you guys try and figure out the answer, let's send you back to Tristan to see how he's doing with Thandi.
Well, we're doing good. We found another kind of evidence or clue in our whole saga. Here we've got a bit of a rib that's been broken off and kind of chewed up. But also what we've got here is the key telltale sign, which is this over there. Now, that over there is a track for a wild dog. You can see on the back here, there's a small triangular pad, 2 toes on the side, 2 toes in the front, claw marks, and that is typical wild dog. So definitely the wild dogs killed this. Thandi has been opportunistic and stolen it and taken it for herself, which is okay, it happens. Wild dogs pilfer from leopards from time to time and give leopards a hard time, and so this is pretty common to see. But that's the evidence that we needed to make 100% sure that it was wild dogs. And so we were talking earlier about tracks, and it was just a little walk that we needed to kind of take to be able to find that particular track itself. Now, Calvert, in how far the dogs could be from here by now? Probably a very long way. Dogs move quite a lot during the sort of sunrise hours, and after being chased off by a leopard, they're going to go quite fast, and I think they then moved off, made another kill, and was stolen by the hyenas. So the dogs have had a bad day. And that's what happens when you're in a small pack. When you're only dogs that are 2 or 3 together, you can get out-muscled quite quickly by leopard and hyena. When you get big packs of 20, 30 dogs, then, well, leopards and hyenas get a very valuable lesson, and it's actually not unheard of wild dogs killing leopards. So, you know, it's just unfortunate that there's just the 2 of them at the moment. But it seems as though it's a grouping of 4. That are kind of keep splitting up. So 2 are females from the Investec pack that have split off, and 2 are males from the Lower Sabi breakaway pack, and those kind of keep coming together and apart, and that's why we're hearing so much vocalizing from these dogs, is that they're talking to each other. And it would be really nice if those 2 dogs, or each sort of split, joins up and forms a new pack of 4 and has their offspring. The problem is now is we're too late in the season for them to actually mate and to den. You know, typically dogs will den around May, June, and to den now in late August, it's not really the time that dogs would den. In fact, I don't think they've ever had a recorded case of the dog dens past the month of September in South Africa. It's different in other parts of Africa. So in the Mara, they den any time of the year. Which is quite interesting. Anyway, good. Sydney is in. We've got him there. We're going to go try and find the ellies that we were looking for on our way to Thandi, and so let's send you across to him and see if he's got visual of Thandi yet.
I got Thandi at the moment, and I can see that Thandi is not alone, is together with Kalamba, and I just saw Kalamba now running away from Thandi, and Thandi also trying to follow. Not too sure what exactly happened, so I'm still trying to check. Maybe they are just trying to hide a little bit away from the bushwalk team as they are leaving the area. You can see that Thandi is very much inquisitive. So right under that tree we have got some food remaining there, and this to me looks like a very big impala. There are speculations around this kill, as if the kill was for the wild dogs and then taken by Thandi and Kalamba. It looks like a very big impala, but the inner parts is already taken out. Yes, according to Tristan, who was on foot, who got a close contact with Thandi Kalamba, and who also picked up other small evidences, is confirmed that this has been the wild dog carcass and then taken over by Thandi and Kalamba. Look at that. This is beautiful. So it's trying to groom herself. So I'm just going to try and pull forward so that you can have a better sighting. As I can see from where I am, these small bushes which are obstructing the views. So let me now try to pull forward. I think now I am at the better position for a lovely sighting. But all I'm seeing now is Thandi Kalamba is hiding at the moment. I just got a little bit of a sighting of Kalamba when she was running away. You can hear some of the birds already. They are giving some of the noises. Maybe Thandi is gonna maybe stealing is becoming a norm to these animals, as now I have seen Thandi is also taking the food from the wild dogs, and yesterday we have also seen Hosana and Tingana stealing food from each other. Yes, I strongly agree with you that this is becoming a norm in Djuma Game Reserve, as we used to know only about the hyenas stealing away from other predators, but now we are seeing also leopards stealing from each other. Maybe Thandi is going to decide to go and drag that carcass up into a tree. But to me, that carcass looks very much heavy. So now, while I'm still waiting for the activities to develop, we are going to Masai Mara, where Brent has got some lions at the moment.
Well, we're still with the sausages. I'm just trying to move a little bit to get us a slightly different view. They are pretty flat, although the one female has lifted her head slightly. Hello, pretty girl. I can still see some zebra not too far away. Well done, Sharon. Indeed, it is straw-colored fruit bats that migrate from the Congo Basin forests to Kasanka National Park in Zambia. Well done. And it's estimated to be between 4 and 6 million, depending on the year. Now, okay, so you guys got that quite easily. So I'm going to have to up the level of the questions. What is the largest, in terms of numbers, large mammal migration in Africa? Now that's in pure terms of single species numbers. What is the largest large mammal migration in Africa? Ha ha! Let's see if you can get this one. This one's a bit more tough. It's not as well known as the bats of Kasanka. Sausages. Oh, she's giving herself a little bit of a bath. And for now, I think that's about the most action we're going to get out of them till the zebra and wildebeest get a bit closer. They've had quite a tough time since last year's migration. Okay, well, let's see if you can get the answer to the next quiz. And while our lions snooze, let's send you back to Thandi and Sydney.
I can see now that Thandi is leaving the carcass, going back, following the drag marks. Not too sure what she's trying to think or what she is intending to do. But all I'm going to do now is I am going to reverse so that I can try to follow her. Maybe she wants to kill the scent from the drag marks. can see her slowly moving, but she's right moving on the drag marks. I'm just gonna try by all means to get a better sighting. Maybe Kalamba's gonna come out behind me, as that is where I saw her going. So she is not moving very fast. Oh, yeah, she is. Oh, yes, she's coming to where the kill was. I can see here that she is coming to pick up some of the fresh meat. Can you see her better there, Dave? More backwards. Okay. Now we've got Tandy is back right at the place where the kill took place. I can see there's still quite a lot of fresh meat there. The intestines and everything is still here, and now she's eating something. Not too sure if that is a liver or... You can see she's feeding but trying to check backwards, because that is where Kalamba is hiding at the moment. She's chaffing now. She's trying to call Kalamba to come and eat. Maybe Kalamba's gonna respond and come to the place. Annette, thank you very, very much. Indeed, this is a fantastic sighting. You can see that Tandy does care for Kalamba, as she doesn't want to just eat. She's eating but trying to chaff to call Kalamba to come and eat. Listen to that. Kalamba is not responding, but maybe she's coming. Look at that. Tandy is battling to chew that. Michelle, yes, the cats, they prefer to eat the liver and the heart, because that is where there's quite a lot of fresh blood. And that is what they like the most, because it helps them in order to get water into the body. So that's why these kind of animals, they are water dependent, but they do get some of the water from what they eat. No, she just vomited some of the eaten stuff. So you can see now she's trying to feed just from the intestines, just try and get all the other fresh things. This is beautiful. I haven't heard Talamba responding to Tandi's chaff yet. There's more other small pieces there where she's going. So you can hear that she's very concerned. She wants Talamba to come and eat. She's calling all the time. Interesting. That is quite a very interesting call. So now I am going to follow Thandi and see if she's going to lead us to Talamba. The chances of seeing Talamba are very much high. I did see Talamba earlier on, but I'm hoping you will see Talamba as well. So now let's go back to Brent with some interesting lions in Mara. So I'm just going to try to reposition.
Well, we are bouncing our way. The one female has decided to go for a walk. So we decided to follow her. And of course she is choosing the most rocky path. See, the others are not following at all. Okay. She might just be heading for the shade of these trees, deciding that lying out in the open is just tilly because it's really hot. Aha! June, you fell into my trap. It is not wildebeest. That is the answer to the quiz. It is not the largest large mammal migration in Africa. Well, speaking of wildebeest, there's one over there. Oh, interesting answer from E.T. Bushlover, Wales. But no, not in terms of pure numbers. Oh my goodness, these rocks are horrible. Let's try it. Loop around the rocks that I can see. Well, let's have a look now. She's walking. Well done, Aaron and James. It is the white-eared cob migration in Sudan, estimated to be just over 2 million individuals. It's amazing that they've, in South Sudan actually, they've managed to survive civil war for years. And they migrate between the Great Sud. The Great Sud is the largest swamp, one of the largest swamps in Africa, on the Nile River in South Sudan. Where are we off to? Okay, let's try to keep up with her again. Others are still not following. So she might be just heading for the shade. Oh, actually, hang on. Oh, I'm going to stop now. That's very pretty. And it gives you an idea about how big these figs in the Mara are. Completely dwarfing that ellie. Oh dear, she's heading into bigger rocks. Okay, decision time now. How do we approach? While I bounce my way through the rocky, whoa, Masai Mara. Let's send you back to Sydney and some spotted cats.
I am now with Kalamba. You can see the reason why Kalamba was not responding to Thandi earlier on. Kalamba is getting something as we are talking now. You can see there. But that meat seems to be very hard for Kalamba. So the beautiful Kalamba is having a morning meal. You can see Kalamba is winning. So the mother gave up and went to the other side earlier just to pick up some other fresh small pieces. So Kalamba is eating from the carcass. This is beautiful. I haven't seen Kalamba for quite a long time. I can see now that Kalamba is gaining strength all the time. So I don't think Thandi and Kalamba will be able to drag this carcass up into a tree. It looks very much heavy. I can see as well here that Thandi is coming back. It's now lying down very next to me, very closely. It's trying to clean herself. So it's trying to get rid of all the blood. Safari Sally, mostly these kind of leopards, they depend on their parents for quite a long time. For them to start hunting and dragging animals up to the tree on their own, it takes a number of years. The leopards are very strong enough when they are 18 to 22 months onwards. So that is when they are very much strong. But before that, they can, I'm sure, is also determined by the size of a prey. Let me just give you an example. There's quite a very big difference between an impala and a scrub hare. If Kalamba can be able to take down a scrub hare now, it's very easy for Kalamba to take up the scrub hare into a tree. But that kind of a carcass Kalamba is having now, it is impossible for Kalamba at this age to drag it up to a tree. You can see that where Kalamba is trying to get some meat is where Thandi was trying earlier on, and Thandi was battling a lot, but Kalamba seems to be winning. Diana, the cats, they don't get sick from the meat that they eat a lot, but sometimes there are diseases such as a disease called a canine distemper disease, a disease which is transmitted through animals eating from the same carcass, that is when they can be able to easily pick it up. And other diseases such as rabies can also get easily transmitted from the carcasses. It's checking all the time. So the canine distemper disease is one of those diseases which can wipe the cats very quickly, as it does affect their canines, and you will see the symptoms such as tanning, and then they get exhausted, and some of them, they die. Look at that, trying to get the balance by stepping on that food. So this is one of the very lovely sighting. I will be here for a while, but while waiting for Tandy to come back and join Kalamba, I am going to now lead you to Tristan, who is on a guided walk.
I am still on the walk. I am still out and about, and I'm sure it's a lovely sighting, Sydney. It looked like a nice big size meal. I mean, obviously difficult when you're on foot to see exactly how big it is, but I'm glad that both Tandi and Kalamba are there. Now, as you can see by this leaf next to me, the wind is really starting to kick up now, and you can see in the distance as it's kind of going is that there are these big ominous clouds that are starting to head our way, and it feels as though we're about to get hit with something quite nasty. It's cold, the wind itself is very, very cold, and there's this dark cloud that is starting to come from the south, which is pretty typical for a cold front that is heading our way. It means that now tracking things like ellies is quite dangerous, because when the wind gets up like this, what's happening is it's gusting, and so it kind of drops and then up and drops and up, and it moves around quite a bit, and it's really not kind of ideal for tracking animals. So we've decided that we'll leave our ellies for now. They also moved off into a really dense thicket that is probably not ideal for us to be going after them in. So we just thought, you know, we'll let them go. Also, the way that we had moved with Tandi meant that we got in behind them, which is not ideal. So we'll try and kind of carry on now and see what we can find. Colbert, first dung beetles, first big rains normally, or a little bit after the first big rains. So when we say big rains, we're talking anything like 20 millimeters of rain and more. That would always be quite nice, and then you start to see the dung beetles after that. You also start to see these guys. So we haven't seen any of them for quite some time, and that's because, well, it's too dry for these giant African land snails. We don't get to see them much. This is a very, very, very old shell that we've got here. You can actually see that it's covered in soil, and even on the inside is very dirty. Now I'm actually trying to see if there's anything inside there. Sometimes you can find little creatures that live inside there, particularly spiders. They often use it. There's actually a sawtooth lovegrass seed inside somewhere there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I wonder what dragged that in there. That's a random seed to have gone inside. And you find these guys all over the place in the winter months because of how dry it gets. You'll find the shells for old or dead snails pretty easily. They're quite white, and so they stand out, and particularly because the grass all kind of dies back, then you start to really kind of see signs of them. Now, I was saying that this one is very old, and the reason why we know it's old is because it's lost all of its coloration. You can see it's become almost bleached white by the sun. Also, you're starting to see big cracks and fissures starting to develop. As it's starting to get a little older, so these cracks are starting to develop. You get these little holes, you're getting chipping on the edge of it, and this is all just weathering that's taking place through the days of being in the sun. Then you get hot, cold weather, so there's expansion and contraction of the shell, and that's causing all of these little cracks to start forming, and eventually it'll just disappear altogether. But isn't it the most beautifully designed thing? It really is absolutely amazing. You can see these kind of conical shapes that come down, and it just grows out to be this massive snail. Now you can imagine, this is a very, very, very large shell. You can imagine if this foot pad was on, there's the size of my hand in comparison, so that foot would probably be quite similar to the size of my palm. It gives you an idea of just how big these kind of guys can be. It really is quite amazing to actually see. And in fact, I've got a tool that we can measure roughly how long it is. I just got to try and find where it is. Let's just open it up so I can get my Leatherman out and open it up, and we can get in terms of centimeters, let's have a look at roughly how long it is in centimeters. So if we put this down like that, so there we go, it's, well, I wouldn't say 12, I would say probably it's closer to about 14 in total. So this is the centimeter readings on the inside over here. It's not straight, obviously, and so, you know, we need to stretch it out a little bit, but I would say probably closer to 14 from tip of the shell to there, which is quite large, and in inches it is close to 6 inches long, so that gives you an idea of just how big these shells can be. And then obviously there's a big snail that lives inside there. Now I'm quite happy to see these guys again when they do come out, and particularly when the marulas come out, because James made an interesting discovery 2 years ago that these guys actually like marulas and eat them, and so it's always quite cool to actually watch them go about that. Anyway, let's carry on, let's see what else we can find, let's see what else is out here. While we do that, we're going to send you across to Brent Leo Smith, who, well, is being quiz master as well as the circus master this morning.
Well, this lioness we've been following has just stopped for a rest now. It's heating up quite quickly here today. Doesn't look like the rest of the pride are following her, as I think she might just be heading for the shade here. Now, it looks to be the lioness that was missing for quite some time and has only recently rejoined the pride in the last couple of weeks. So I wonder if she was just lost, or it's possible that I have a theory that she might have cubs. So that's one of the reasons I followed her. It's very difficult to see whether she's got suckle marks at the moment, just because the grass is so wet, so her whole bottom of her belly is wet. But this would be an ideal spot for cubs. Not many active, well, the hyenas dens aren't too close to this area. So hopefully, during the course of today, she might lead us to her den where she's got the little cubbies. If she does have cubs. As I say, I'm not 100% sure yet. Further investigation is required. Now, quite often, after the big storms we've been having, the next day has been really hot. Well, Proud Cat Mama would like to know how many times a day a lion can mate. Well, it's an average every 15 minutes, so that's 4 times an hour. There are 24 hours in the day. So 4 times 24. 4 times 24. I'm trying to do this in my head. About 96 to 100 times a day is on average, so we're just working on averages. Yeah, 96 to 100 times a day. And she's up again. Let's just zoom in on her belly, please. I just want to have another close look. It's quite difficult. It looks like there possibly are suckle marks. Okay. She is taking me into some very tough terrain at the moment. But we shall do our best. Unfortunately, there are certain places that we just can't go. And the bush is too thick or the rocks are too big. Okay, well, hopefully she does lead us to little ones. While I try to keep up with her, let's send you back to Sydney.
Kalamba is trying to get something to eat for this morning. I can see that all her concentration is on that carcass. And I've just heard the wild dogs also making some of the calls just now. So in this area, the wild dogs, they are not that very far. So the food these leopards are eating now is not safe at the moment, as it is easily accessible by any kind of a predator or a scavenger. If any if any other animal such as the hyena or the wild dogs comes here, they might take away this food. So they must have to eat very quickly and make sure that they are done, as these other animals might come and give them problems. Otherwise, they must have to drag this food up into a tree. So Ivy, I didn't copy that question very well. If you can repeat for me. Ivy, that is very true. The teeth, they get sharpened as they're growing, because when they are feeding now, they are concentrating on fresh milk, meat, and as they are getting old, they will start to crack some of the bones, and those bones obviously will be sharpening the teeth every time. But when they're very old, the chances of them breaking the teeth as well are very high, which is a big problem to these kind of cats, because once they start to worn out the teeth, then feeding, it becomes very difficult, and the chances of them to die are very fast, as they won't be able to use the teeth in order to cut the meat. So now let's go back to the guided walk. The guided walk team seems to be having one of the tallest animals in the world.
We do indeed, Sydney. We have one of the tallest animals in the form of a giraffe. We're having a wonderful morning, actually. We've seen lots of nice tracks. We've had a great sighting of Thandi on that kill. And now we've got a giraffe, which haven't really been too many of them around of late. They seem to be kind of in and out, and some days we see them, some days we don't. Now, this particular male is watching us. It's very aware that we're here. I mean, we're on quite an open clearing and a ridge, much like he is, and so it's actually quite easy to see. But this poor giraffe is quite skittish. The wind coming up like this has forced it out of the drainage line, so it was down in the drainage section, and it then came running out for long before we even got anywhere near there. And it's not because of us, but it's just because the wind is disturbing it, and I think it's quite skittish inside those thickets. It'd rather get out into these open clearings where it can see all the way around it. But for me, their camouflage is quite something. I mean, we can see it, obviously, it's there, but it really doesn't stand out as much as you would think a massive animal of a giraffe size would stand out. But it's there, it's kind of blending in. Those spotted patterns just help break up its outline, and if it goes behind some trees, we would really struggle to see it. Luckily for us, it's kind of standing in a gap at the moment, and so we can see it quite nicely. Very, very cool to see. I quite like spending time with giraffe on foot. They're quite curious animals, so they often stop and just watch you and just kind of take it easy and see what's going on, and you can see he's kind of turning both ways. Now, I say it's a male. I can't really tell, to be honest, from where I am. I haven't even looked through my binoculars. Just from the general size of it and kind of shape of the head, it looks as though there's lots of bumps and bits on top of the forehead, and so I'll double check now with binos quickly just to make 100% sure. Yes, he's got quite thick ossicones on top as well, and so he definitely seems like he is a male. Now, how old is he, Kelly? Difficult to say. From this distance, there's a lot of factors that I can't really see. He looks like he's still kind of and developing those bony deposits on this forehead. So I would say, I mean, I'd hazard a guess. This is a complete guess. There's no real way to know for sure from here, but he's an adult giraffe, so I would say between 8 and 11. That would be my guess, somewhere there. I might be completely wrong. You have to get a little closer to actually see them, because they've got these kind of deposits that develop more and more as they get older, and so that's normally kind of the way. Now, Tina, will big cats attack a giraffe like this? Yes, most definitely. I mean, lions could go after this. It's very seldom that it happens in this particular area, and the reason why is that the lions know that a giraffe, one, is difficult to bring down. It's a big animal. Two, it's quite dangerous because it can kick incredibly hard, and three, it's got very good eyesight, and so getting close to a giraffe is not easy. So here they don't hunt them that much. There's no need. There's far easier animals to be able to go after. So things like kudu, things like zebra, wildebeest, buffalo, those are all far easier to hunt than a giraffe, and so they spend most of their time actually kind of leaving the giraffe alone. You'll find in other areas where if you go into parts of the desert regions, so the Kalahari, the Etosha, those kind of places, then giraffe are hunted quite regularly, and that's because there's, well, prides get big and there's availability in that, and they're sometimes not easy to find other food items, so they do hunt giraffe quite regularly, which is interesting. So it just depends on certain prides. I mean, in the Mara, in the entire time I was there, I didn't once actually see a giraffe being hunted properly. They tried, but it was never really a proper hunt that took place. It was just kind of a half-hearted attempt, I would say, by a single lioness to hunt a baby giraffe. So baby giraffe they'll go after, but big fully grown bull giraffe like this is very difficult to bring down. Anyway, we're going to carry on. We're going to try and see what else there is, try and avoid being victim to this wind, so we'll try and find a sheltered spot. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Sydney and the beautiful Thandi and Kalamba.
Kalamba is trying to prove me wrong. When I got here, I thought these impala carcass will be too heavy for Thandi to drag it up into a tree. But now, the small Kalamba dragged the carcass for a couple of meters now. You can see it's dragging it. So this shows me that this carcass might get up into a tree at any time from now. You can see Kalamba is getting a lot of strength now. Look at that. This is amazing. And she's doing everything just by herself. Thandi is very relaxed somewhere there. You can see both of them now. Kalamba eating there and Thandi very relaxed close to. So you can see that the leopards are so very much equipped with a very strong strength which helps them to survive their solitary life. Without this kind of strength, it was going to be very difficult for them to perform their solitary life. Let's see what Kalamba is trying to think about. Maybe he's thinking about dragging that carcass up into a tree. She's getting very much strong, but she's tired a little bit now. As I can see, she's going to the mother. Maybe she's trying to ask the mother to drag the carcass up into a tree, and here comes the mother. Let's see the kind of message the mother got from Kalamba. The mother is slowly approaching the carcass. I can see that Thandi is looking about, is thinking about taking this to a tree. You can see she is now looking high up on these trees. She aimed the tree in front of me and she aimed that other tree. So Thandi must have to finish up, as the effort has been done already by Kalamba to drag the carcass. You can see now that the message is about taking this to safety. I can see now Thandi is scanning the other big tree nearby. So it means Kalamba went to Thandi and asked for some help. This is great. I hope Thandi is gonna drag that carcass up into a tree before the end of the drive. This is beautiful. She's looking up, high up on the tree. She must just do it now. She's looking again. She's counting the branches and maybe the number of steps. And then now she's trying to check the other trees nearby. There she go. Let's see how Thandi is gonna manage to drag up this carcass. So Thandi, you have got only 5 minutes to drag that carcass up into the trees. The viewers want to see your strength today. Maybe she's gonna make it in 5 minutes. I think it's very important that she take this carcass up into a tree. She must just do it because the wild dogs are still in the area. And other ones, other scavengers such as hyenas might come. Oh, now she's trying to cover the carcass. She tried to cover the carcass. She was dragging the grasses and everything, kicking them on top of the carcass. It's covered a little bit. And this is beautiful. So she doesn't want to show us where her strength is coming from. I just want to try and see what she's thinking, because she's just now following the drag marks. She's trying to call Kalamba. Kalamba is still looking high up by the trees. It's not happy, Kalamba, about this carcass on the ground. You can see now she's going. You can see that Kalamba is going. Maybe Kalamba's gonna show the mother again that she's not happy about where the food is at the moment. You can see that Kalamba is trying to have something to eat at the moment there. can see Kalamba is also looking up into the tree and looking at the mother, and the mother is not concentrating. So it seems like Kalamba is the one which is very much concerned about the food on the ground. It has been very much interesting since this morning, starting from the hyenas and all the sightings that took place in Mara and interesting stories from the guided walk. So Tandi and Kalamba just became a bonus on top of all these kind of wildlife experiences we saw this morning. Thank you very much for all your comments and questions.